Do you as a citizen find it constitutional that those with disabilities are prevented from access to health care? Or do you think that because they have a disability, they shouldn't be allowed to have a choice in their end of life care, especially here in California? Well, this is an issue that's been involved in the policies with the End of Life Option Act here in California. There's an abundance of information regarding those who participate in this act. Some, but not limited to, those with cancer, those with serious mental illness that inhibit them from partaking in daily activities, and those that live sometimes with a mysterious illness that is described as excruciatingly painful and impossible to live with. These can affect anybody, whether they are able-bodied or disabled. However, there is a stark contrast in the access to options and treatment towards the end of life with those who are able and those who are disabled. There needs to be a clear policy change in how we approach this issue, especially with the End of Life Option Act. According to the CDC, the population that seeks out this treatment is typically comprised of those who are facing cancer. Over the past 5 years, we have seen a stark increase in cancer in the United States, and this may be a result as more effective sourcing and gathering information, or it can be effect of our health as a total nation. With that in mind, there's also the Disabilities Act that was created in the 1990s in order to allow those with disabilities an ease of living through public services, through access, design access in every area, and a non-discriminatory law placed for employment. However, this may have fallen on deaf ears when it came to the healthcare world. As far as the End of Life Option Act is concerned, it has a strict regimen of criteria that a patient must meet. One of those things being it's a voluntary experience. Secondly, you must be a California resident. Third, you must have terminal illness. And fourth, you need to have verification and the ability to ingest the medication on your own. However, this isn't always the reality for many of people who have disabilities. Those with disabilities often sometimes have to ingest things through a GT tube. Sometimes they have to be aided in eating, and there's other alternatives that they can't just pick it up as you and I can perhaps and ingest it on their own. This is a huge preventative roadblock in the face of participating in the End of Life Option Act, and many people object from allowing those with disabilities to participate in this, which ultimately invalidates them as a human that can make their own decisions. So now that I've kind of given you a heads up on the current issue at play, I would like you to visualize some of the changes that I've constructed through a plan on how the policy can be rewritten. As far as the End of Life Option Act goes, it is vital that we rewrite it in a way that allows those with disabilities to have total autonomy over their end of life care. This can come in the form of putting safeguards in place on the End of Life Option Act and being able to make the differentiation between aid in dying and euthanasia. At any point, still, the disabled person is allowed to prevent the care from occurring and ultimately say they no longer will participate in the treatment. This has never been an arguing point for those involved in the legislation. However, they have argued strictly that this is a euthanasia of the worst kind and that we are ultimately not giving those with disabilities the option at the end of their life. This is completely wrong in argument sense. This grants somebody total control over their end of life care and gives them more options in what they can do. Those who are able and those who are disabled should have equal, if not more, opportunities to pursue alternative treatments. There's a common disrespect towards people that they can't make their own decisions, and I think this is blatantly wrong. So I want you to visualize how we can go in here and affect this policy. One is to implement safeguards and allow those with disabilities the same treatment that those with able-bodied people at the end of their life can ingest the drug and take part in the treatment. All the boxes still have to be hit. They still have to volunteer for the program. They have to be 18 years or older. They have to face terminal illness, and they have to be able to ingest the medication. So now you've kind of visualized some of the policy changes that we can implement. I want you to think about the result. What would this look like in its final phase? So being able to visualize where this can go. If we're able to protect those who have disabilities or those who are able-bodied and having total autonomy of their end-of-life care, we start to give those with disabilities equal footing in the healthcare world. This is a huge issue that we currently face, and according to many of the sources, when there's a general patient advocacy coming from a general populace and those who participate in voting, they are able to make an impact on the legislation surrounding healthcare. At the end of the day, it's people like me and you that are going to have to face these decisions towards the end of our life, and no better time than now to impact change on a matter like this. This is going to be a huge moral and ethic problem that may keep reoccurring, but as it stands right now, there's huge ethical and moral implications and legislation that's being put into place to try to prevent those with disabilities from pursuing the End of Life Option Act here in California. As an audience, I would like you to get out there and vote, protect your peers, whether they're able-bodied or disabled, and I would like you to take note of how the healthcare system has treated you. I would like you to know that you have total patient autonomy now, and that whenever you're given a choice of alternative medicine, make sure you take everything into account, because it's people like me and you that will be able to impact the change and make sure that those around us are protected. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great evening.